Good afternoon. I'm Adrienne Gilliard here with Sandra Bazan, and we are inclusion specialists with the ELC, and we're giving you today's Behavior Bites tidbit, and it is visual prompts or visual supports. So whenever we go out into the community and do observations, one strategy that we probably will always give you is the use of a visual support of some kind. And I know a lot of times, some teachers are thinking, well, what is this really going to do to help? Does this really help that much in the classroom?
Yep.
And I have to say it absolutely does. And I'm going to give you a fun fact. So the United States Marines, they also use a visual prompt. And their visual prompt is a pair of yellow footprints. And every Marine from the United States has stepped on a pair of yellow footprints at some point. And that set of footprints signifies their transition from civilian life into Marine life. And it also shows those soldiers how to stand at attention and what directions they're supposed to be going in. Okay. So you think about how we can use footprints as a visual prompt in the classroom.
How to line up.
How to line up as a way to transition, how to go from inside to outside.
Right. So the flow of the centers that you want.
The flow of the centers, the flow of the classroom, everything. So if a visual schedule, so simple as a pair of yellow footprints, can help to transition Marines at the highest level, what do you think it could do for our children?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So visual schedules, visual prompts, visuals in general, right? There's so many different kinds and so many different uses for so many different reasons, right? The one that we like to talk about the most is the visual schedule of their day, right? Most effective if the actual children are participating in those activities, right? It can be used as for those children that are anxious, or those children that are, have difficulty leaving their parents in the morning, those criers, I want my mommies. You can always direct them to the visual schedule. And now you give them concrete. This is where you are. This is when mommy comes. You have to understand that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it's all the same to them. They have zero concept of time. So when we say in a little bit, what does that even mean to that child who so desperately wants his mommy? Well, it means that after we're here in centers, then we have nap time, and then mommy comes. Now the child has something concrete. Now he knows exactly what's going to happen when mommy's coming back, knows what to expect. And by the way, I happen to love centers. Oh, okay. Because now I know what's next. I don't really like, circle time, but I get to do centers next. Okay, cool. And then mommy comes. Okay, perfect. So that's one way to use a visual schedule. Another, you ever had those children that, they're in your classroom, it's May, and they still don't know the routine. They still kind of like look lost, and they're looking to their peers to kind of what's next,
figure out what to do. It's almost like they have too many choices and they don't know where to start.
Exactly. You could use a visual schedule. You could use visual prompts for activities like multi-step activities, and you want to teach that skill of from initiation to completion, right? You want to teach independence, right? But you know that this child struggles. What better way than to have 3 little pictures of the directions that you want? A crayon, a scissor, and a glue. What am I asking the kid to do?
Color cut.
Yep. Color cut and paste. That's color cut and paste. And so now you could go up to that child, not say anything, not disturb his concentration, not embarrass him, and just gesture. This is where you are. Point, what's next? The kid's going to look at the scissors provided. Guess what? Connection is made. Now I know what to do.
And as they complete each one of those activities, they can turn the picture over and say, okay, well, I know I'm done coloring.
Done.
So now let me cut it out. Right. I know I'm done cutting it out. So now let me paste. So they can turn those things over. And it gives them such a sense of independence. And like you said a minute ago, they don't have to be embarrassed by you having to constantly redirect and give them directions over and over again.
Because they are listening. They are listening. Like, why don't you ever tell them what to do all the time? Why do I need so much help? Why, right? And so that gives them a little sense of independence. I think that visual schedules can be used for those children that have a hard time following classroom routines. Like, for example, that one child that doesn't put their backpack away.
Right.
Ever. Right? So now you have a visual for the procedure that you want every single student to do on their way in. You can have a visual schedule of, a backpack inside a cubby, maybe a picture of the student with the backpack, putting it inside the cubby. You know what I mean? You can get really creative with this stuff. Then wash your hands, and then a puzzle, because that's what they're doing today. Puzzles. That's where they go next. You just eliminated the need to constantly redirect all the time, because compliance goes down with more times that you make demands. So the more that a child can be independent and flow with the routine because they know what's next, and if they get confused or they're not sure, they now know where to go and look for next. You've managed a whole lot of potential behaviors.
Exactly. And I also want to point out too, like when you use the visual support of with their name and their picture on their cubby so that they know where their things can go. I've heard, well, they're in VPK now, they're getting ready to go to kindergarten, they're not going to have the same visuals. Well, what you can do to kind of help is when you start off with that child, you can use a big picture, small words, and as the year progresses,
you change it.
You change it.
Allow
your picture to become smaller and smaller.
And the words to become
until there's the word. And that is a great way to kind of boost them and help them along the way.
It's incredible, because if you think about it, there are visuals everywhere and we don't even notice it.
We don't even realize it.
We don't think about it. Any child, if you show them a stop sign, just hold it up. What do they know what that is? The McDonald's visual, like that's all. And it also helps with like print, understanding that words, pictures have meaning. They can now use visuals to communicate. If you have a nonverbal child and you teach them how to use certain visuals to communicate a need, a want, you have opened up a world that was close to them before. You have a child that's not verbal, and you use a visual schedule, but you use objects in that visual schedule. For example, you have a center visual, and it's going to be painting or artwork, and then blocks, and then, I don't know, Play-Doh, right? Let's just say that's what you have out. Not necessarily that's the best thing, but you could use an actual paintbrush to represent a center. You're teaching literacy. One object representing another is the foundation to reading. Symbols, our letters, are just that. It's representative of something else. So we're teaching so much in even providing a visual. Just what do they call it? A paintbrush. You can have a little block, a tiny block, put it there, and then a Play-Doh, the cap of a Play-Doh, because you don't want the Play-Doh to dry out, right? So now that child, without having to, he is now fully immersed. He knows what to expect. He knows where to go. He is participating.
The child is able to actually attend because they know what's going on. They're no longer lost. Right.
They have access to the curriculum. They have access to what everybody else has access. Right? You have those children that struggle with language, right? They don't have maybe a lot of receptive language. Maybe I don't know, there's not a lot of talking going on in at home, or whatever the case may be. If you wanted to really, really drive home a concept, nothing better than to use an object. When you're talking about dinosaurs, have a dinosaur. Have a book, have a picture, have a 3D dinosaur.
Yes.
right? So you can show, you saw how that I showed in all different medias. You could have a cartoon dinosaur. You could have a realistic dinosaur picture. You could have, there's so many different ways to use visuals to drive home a concept. I think it's one of the things that is the hardest to do as a teacher in August, the beginning of the year, right?
Right.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But once it's done on the front end, you save yourself so much frustration. Because all you have to say is go check your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go next? Go check your schedule. And they know exactly where they go.
Exactly.
So I love visuals. I have visuals for just about everything. All the routines, the hand washing, the flushing of the toilets, all of it. How to come in, what I want to see on the carpet. So even your classroom behaviors, those expected behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
that's a visual. It should be a visual. It should be a picture should be paired with the words.
Right.
And like I said, a lot of things that we take for granted, like the stop signs and the signs of McDonald's, we don't really realize. But like you said, visuals are everywhere for us, everywhere for us. You could even use, oh my gosh, I just had a bright idea. I'm thinking of traffic lights, right? So you could use a stop sign for those children that elope, those runners.
Mm-hmm.
You could use the one-way street signs for the flow of traffic. Like you said, you could use the footprints. I mean, gosh, you could use so many different things to make your life flow.
You even said it one time before, even if you don't use a picture or words, you can use a strip of red tape on the floor.
Yep.
So children that usually try to escape the classroom, they know that they can't go beyond. It creates a barrier.
It's a visual boundary.
It's a boundary.
Thank you for reminding me. So like in circle time, you
Right.
have those kids that struggle so hard. You would be amazed how much a piece of tape in a circle or in a square with a chair in the middle, a physical chair in the middle, would solve a lot of those problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because they now understand this is where I stay. You've expressed it in a way that they understand it.
Right.
So that's what I got.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
So thank you for joining us today for our Behavior Bites tidbit of visual cues and visual prompts. These tidbits are available to you to view at elcbroward.org/providers/behavior tidbits. Thank you for all that you do for the children in our community, and we will see you next time.